Hannah Kessler.
This gal started her own bank at the age of 18, and then you became a self-made millionaire by the age of 24?
I did.
Hannah Kessler is a money mentor.
She's known as the single millionaire chick.
With advice on how to stop living paycheck to paycheck.
Money starts with your mindset.
How you think about your money is going to greatly impact how much money that you have.
I grew up in a town called Olathe, Kansas. I'd be walking out of the door, going to school, and my mama would holler at me, "Hannah, make good choices." And I'd have to holler back, "Because the choices I make today will affect my future."
My parents, they did a very good job about teaching me as a child how to handle my money. We have a lack of understanding when it comes to money.
If you want your kids to have money, you need to start talking to them about it while they're young.
I'm really second generation to this concept that's called the infinite banking concept.
And at 18 years old, my dad gave me the choice to start my own bank that then led me to becoming a millionaire by the time I was 24.
Now you've written a book to help tie it all together.
So the companion is really just teaching kids that, not specifically money, but really important life lessons.
Now being the owner of the Money Multiplier, I help serve over 17,000 clients in every state of the country.
Where can people get the book?
HannahKessler.com. Hannah spelled the same way forwards and backwards, Kessler with one S.
Also, I got my podcast show, the Money Multiplier Podcast.
And make good choices today, because the choices you make today will affect your future. Good morning, my friends. Y'all know I love you because it is currently 7:05 Mountain Time. Shout out Colorado. I wake up, I got here very late last night, and actually Rachel Katz is in town with me. She might make an appearance here on this live stream this morning, but we got into town late. We're in Boulder, Colorado. And I couldn't see the mountains outside my window. And what do I do first thing in the morning is I open up the window, pulling down the chain to raise up the blinds. And the most beautiful mountain is outside. My heart. See, being a Floridian, I get the beach, right? You don't get the mountains. So here is my 5-year goal. And I've been saying this a lot, which I actually kind of got to update y'all on a few things. Before I tell you about my 5-year goal. But on the 15th of this month, it was a big day for Hannah. I closed on 2 rental condos, all right? And then I had to turn right back around and pay the IRS. So it was a big day. It was a big money day on the 15th of April. But I'm super excited. We're continuing to build the empire, y'all. So that's what I want you to do is build your family empire. And don't allow money in your pocketbook to dictate your time, how you're spending your time, whom you're spending it with. So that's really my goal, is just to help y'all get to that place of true financial freedom. So my 5-year goal is I would love to own property in Golden, Colorado, because Golden has an interest to me. It's far enough away from Denver in the city that you're in the mountains, but it's close enough because, your girl, she loves music and concerts and dancing, right? And it's close enough to the city that you got Red Rocks, you got Mission Ballroom, and you got all the venues right there. So 5-year goal, going to have a rental. I think that one's going to be a short-term rental. So then I can come and I have a place to park the van. That's my vision for myself right now. But who knows? Actually, I was with my family for the last week. Okay, so we were in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then Bub, my brother, Zach, he came and he picked us up and he flew us in the Pilatus from Scottsdale to Austin, Texas. And Mama had some stuff going on out there. We did some business stuff, but it's really, really cool when you have the family with you, and business is also family time, right? And then also if it's a business trip, it's also a tax write-off, but I'm not a tax professional. So go talk to your CPAs and your tax professionals. Okay. But good morning, my friends. Who is on this morning? Dexter, you're always here. Hello, Miss Hannah, spelled the same ways forwards and backwards. Annette, good morning. Good to see ya. Devon, hello. Lisa, girlfriend, good to see you. Devon says, love that music. Mr. Dave, he says, good morning. Sounds awesome. On his way to see Isabel. Dave, tell Isabel I said good morning and hello. Josh, congrats on your closing. Colorado's a beautiful place. It is, my friends. Hey, and actually your profile pic, it seems like it's like a city or something. So I don't know if you live in New York City or somewhere else. It almost looks like Bangkok, honestly. All right. Dexter saying, in 5 years, you'll have a large bus also with a driver. No, Dexter, that's when I'm 50 years old. I'm going to get a Class A RV, you know, like the big ones, right? Matter of fact, Dexter, I was sitting on the airline yesterday and I was talking to the gentleman next to me and we got deep into that conversation. I was showing him my van and he has this big rig, right? And he tows his truck behind it, but it's those huge, like, you know, like the celebrity tour bus type of rigs, you know? And I was like, that is when I'm 50 years old, I'm going to have that. Well, hey, I am super excited about today's topic because this is a question I get all the time, and especially for my investors, okay? And I understand this question because being a real estate investor myself, I get it. I understand the thought process, okay? Hannah, why would I put my money inside of this policy first, only have access say to 60 to 90% of it, depending on how the policy is designed, if you're doing a dump in, yada, 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 we can get into that today too. But why would I put my money in the policy first, only have access to 60 to 90% of it, and then go invest it? If I didn't do the policy and I just took my capital and I just took my money and invested it directly, I would have that 100% capital inside of this investment working for me. So how does this make sense, or why would this make sense to me? I want to break it down, okay? And the analogy I use a lot, but now I'm ready to back it up by numbers, all right, for my analytical folks. I always say it's the tortoise and the hare story, right? You are going to be the hare, okay? I'm going to be the tortoise. You being the hare, you are taking your capital and you are just investing it directly into whatever you like: gold, silver, real estate, crypto, stock market. I don't care. Invest in the things that you like, know, and understand, right? I'm never going to tell you how to go make your money, how to invest your money, okay? But if you want to have those buddy conversations, I'm here. I'll tell you, I'll turn you on to what I'm doing, was working out for me over here. But you will be the hare. If you go and take your capital, invest it directly into that investment, you're going to beat me in the early years, okay? But there's going to come a point in time where me, the tortoise, I catch up to you and I'm going to win this race all day long. See, people, and especially like our society here today in America, we are very microwave mentality, very drive-through mentality is what I like to call it, short-term thinkers, if you will. And I'm telling you right now, the infinite banking concept, if you are a short-term thinker and you cannot think long range, what Nelson Nash teaches us, this ain't for you. If you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do this stuff and then stop it after 5 years, no, don't do this. Go do something else, okay? Because it's not just about the product. This is a process. This is the additional step that you're adding into your financial life. So definitely have to have the long-term thinking. This is not for quitters, okay? And let me get even more specific. When we're talking about IBC, the infinite banking concept, we are talking about whole life insurance. Let me tell you something. I had a phone call just yesterday with somebody. IULs, guys, I don't know. You know, we've gone deep into conversations about IULs, and for some reason, people are just loving those IULs, and it's okay. You know, IULs have a place within the market, but if somebody is out there teaching you that you can utilize an IUL for the infinite banking concept, run in the opposite direction. I mean, I'm serious about this stuff, guys. Go and look at the guaranteed side of those IUL illustrations, and it will tell you the truth. And we've broken it down, okay, here on the live stream and even on the Money Multiplier podcast. You can go and search up those episodes on YouTube or on the podcast platforms. Literally just search up IUL and you'll see some of the videos that pop up. But anyways, without getting so deep into that conversation, we talked about it not too long ago, but we're specifically talking about whole life policies and whole life insurance. So I want to back this up now with numbers, okay? And I'm going to prove this to you that, hey, if I do my policy with my investment, I'm going to come out better on top in the long run. And this is actually a tool that we build for all of our members. So all of the folks who are a part of the Money Multiplier and you decide to practice this stuff over here with us, because remember, you don't have to do this with us. I mean, hopefully you want to, right? I mean, like I look at myself as the cardiologist when it comes to the infinite banking concept, but you don't got to do it over here with us. You know, just go with somebody who is an authorized IBC practitioner. That is just my biggest advice. But this is a tool that we build for our members. It's something that's called the gains projector. And this gains projector was literally created because of this question. We get it all the time speaking to real estate investors. So I'm going to break it down, the gains projector, with y'all today. And then also, if I just go and invest the capital directly. Pause for a second. Let me get a sip of water. High altitude. Beach girl, sea level girl over here. Got to stay hydrated. All right. I'm going to add this to the stage. Can you see this okay? What I did, and let me actually blow it up a little bit. Let's zoom in. There we go. All right. What I did is I put this into AI and I said, hey, can you run me a 15-year analysis? If I have $1 million as my initial investment capital, and I take that $1 million and I go and invest it into something that's going to give me an annual return of 14%. Okay, so this is like private lending or maybe some syndications or a real estate investment, right? So that's how we're getting that 14%. So if I take this $1 million and I go and invest it directly and it gives me 14%, and then every year I am taking the gains and putting it back towards that investment. Okay, so here's the little schedule here. And I put this into AI, so that's how I built this all out. Here's my initial $1 million. And then every year I'm putting in 100,000, 100,000, 100,000 for 7 years. And then it drops down. Hannah, why is it kind of funky? Why does it drop down to 99,524 in year 8? And then why does it drop down to 52,483 in year 12? Well, really what this is mimicking, and to make an apples to apples comparison, is this is a policy illustration. That's what I fed into the AI software. As I said, hey, take this as our out of pocket or gains capital and putting it back towards that investment to give us a true apples to apples comparison. You see what I'm saying? Because I wanted this to be spot on. And what I wanted it to do is over the 15 years, what does that give me as my total bucket of capital and net worth from doing this investment for 15 years at a 14% annual interest? And what the software told me, okay, and this was my little synopsis that I said back to it, that's the correct setup using this, $1 million initial investment, 15 annual deposits over the next 15 years, 14% annual compounding, 15-year total horizon. The net worth at year 15 is $11,151,094. You see that right here? This is how much I would have back from this investment. 11,151,094. All right. This is if I just go and invest the money directly. You follow me up to that point? Let me do another share screen for a second. Stop share screen. Let's pull this one up. This, my friends, gotta share my screen. This, my friends, is taking the same exact synopsis of the $1 million. And here, I'll kind of blow it up. I know it's a lot of numbers, okay? I know it's a lot of numbers, but I'll break it down. It's taking the exact same synopsis of putting in my $1 million and then taking out my policy loans. So this is me now using the policy, my and asset to go fund this deal, returning me 14% annually. So this is where people get hung up. Well, Hannah, if I put this $1 million inside of my policy, then I'm only going to have $939, $790 to go and invest. You see what I'm saying? $939 to invest versus the $1 million to go and invest. Hannah, I have less capital in this investment, thus less capital working for me, thus lesser returns on this investment, right? And then you can see that every year, doing my apples to apples comparison, this is my premium deposits that are going in, okay, the 100,000. And then by year 8, you can see that it drops down. And then by year 12, it drops down again, okay? So do you agree that this is a true apples to apples comparison? Give me a thumbs up or say yes in the comments. Dexter says yep. So let's move on. Over the 15 years, if I do this with my policy, I would have a total of $11,812,058. So here is my question. Is this 11,812? Is that a larger number than that 11,000,001 that I showed you earlier? Which one is a larger number is my question. Let me show you again. Share screen. Share. Which one's a larger number? This 11.1 or the 11.8? It's the 11.8, right? I have that 11.8, but guess what else that I have? It's a difference in $660,000 simply by running the money through my policy first. I have $660,000. We can even call it 661 if we want to, using IBC over 15 years. Plus, I have my death benefit of the $370,000, assuming that my loans never get paid back. So literally, just by adding one additional step into my financial life, and using the policy to go and make those investments directly, I have over $500,000 more than if I wouldn't have done this. What do you want? But it's got to be, you got to have the correct thinking about this, okay? Because this is not for short-term thinkers. This is the long haul. There's a crossover point, and that crossover point happens anywhere between year 7 to year 10 of the policy becomes more efficient with your investment versus just going and investing the money directly. So there's a crossover there. And it's almost like saying, hey, why would I go do this? Why would I even start a business from scratch? I know that when I start my business, year 1 of my business, I may not make any profits. Year 2 of my business, I may not make any profits. Maybe by year 3, maybe I'm just breaking even now. But then by year 4, I'm definitely breaking even. And that's not even guaranteed in a business. Guess what is guaranteed? the interest rate inside of your whole life insurance contract with a mutually owned insurance company. So it's literally, it's not that complicated, but I know you guys want to see the numbers. So that's why I'm breaking down the numbers for y'all. And that's why this gains projector really does exist, and to help y'all see the numbers, see that clarity. But literally, let's say that this person, over 15 years, they were doing this, and then they graduate, they pass away, they never pay back their policy loans. Well, at the end of it, what the insurance company would do is they would take their death benefit that they have on that policy, subtract out any outstanding loans, and then the remaining death benefit, that $370,000, that's what's going to get paid out lump sum tax free to whoever they named as the beneficiary on their policy. And by the way, just a little side note on beneficiaries. Yes, your trust can be your beneficiary. You can split beneficiaries. Let's say you have 2 children, you want to do 50% to each of them, or you can even select like specific dollar amounts. Like of this 370, let's say one of my kids I like them better than the other, so I give them 300,000, and then the other kid I give them 70,000. I'm just kidding. Treat your kids equally. Matter of fact, you know who's the best at that? My father. Dad, he is so funny sometimes. Dad will literally, like, if he gives, like, let's say Zach like $20 or something, he comes right back around and gives Hannah $20 too. He's like, I gotta treat you guys equally. I can't pick a favorite kid here because you guys will start griping at me. He's kind of cute in that way. But I'm like, Dad, I don't need $20. It's Zach. Go give it to Zach. But this is the difference, right? It's my and asset. You have the real estate investment, you have the place of where you warehouse the money, plus you also have the death benefit there, because it's not an if it happens, it's a when it happens. Now my family, my heirs, I'm passing along this death benefit, tax-free money to them, plus the assets that my policy bought me over the course of my life. Let's talk about this for a second though. But Hannah, doesn't my policy loans have to get paid back? No, it is not a requirement that your policy loans have to get paid back. Now, what I do, especially when I'm investing my dollars using my policy, if I see that there's money stagnant sitting there in my checking account down at the bank, and maybe I'm saving up for something, other opportunities to go and deploy that capital, I'm telling you, when you have the money, the opportunities are going to start to appear, okay? You don't got to start going out there looking for opportunities. They're going to start knocking at your front door and show up in front of you. But if you do need some help and support with that, I mean, there's resources out there. You can always come to me. You can go to privatemoneyclub.com is a great place to get into real estate lending. If you want notes or note investing, I can even turn you on to some experts within that space as well. That's why Master the Money Game, if you guys weren't there in Tampa, you should have been there, because that whole event was curated, and why I crafted the lineup for how do I put my little green men to work? What are different asset classes that I can go put my little green men, my dollars to work, and create an army of green men that are out there working? That's where Courtney shared the oil and gas. That's where Dan Zatosky, which, by the way, shout out Dan, I'm seeing you today. We're here at the same event, sir. I don't know if you're watching this morning, but I'm excited to see you and Don this morning. He does turnkey rentals. We talked about velocity banking with the infinite banking concept. We talked about private lending. So if you're, even RAL, Dave, we talked about, Isabel was there talking about residential assisted living. And Dave is saying Mastering the Money Game event was awesome. I appreciate that testimony, my friend. But actually, the recordings are live now, so they're out of production. And if you want to go catch the recordings from that event, send me an email, hannah@themoneymultiplier.com, and I can send you the link of where you can go and purchase those recordings. Because no, I don't just give them out for free because you guys don't value free things. Haha, right? You guys don't. You just won't pay attention if it's free, right? So send me an email if you want those recordings and how to purchase them, and I'll show you that. But that was what this whole event was about, is how do I go and put my dollars into these different asset classes? What do I like the best, you know? But in the policy as well, okay, along with the more monies that you have, the tax-free growth that's happening in the policy, plus the death benefit, remember the money that's inside of your policy, it is a protected asset. So if you ever get sued, have a judgment lien against you, Florida, I know Arizona, they are 100% protected in those states, and it is a protected asset in most states. But I'm sorry, my Californians, is that how you pronounce it? All of my folks in California, it's not. But all you got to do is perform a collateral assignment, and then your policy is now a protected asset for you. Okay, so, and we can talk about that. So it's a quick little Google search. Say, hey, in my state of Minnesota or in my state of New Hampshire, is a whole life contract a protected asset? And then Google will tell you yes or no. But this is the power of the uninterrupted compounding. Why do I do this with my policy rather than just going and investing directly? Well, I do this because when I simply add this one additional step of running the money through the policy first, I'm earning uninterrupted tax-free compounding interest on that money in the policy. And I'm making the 14% in the real world, investing the dollars. It's my and asset, right? I'm double dipping. I like to even sum it up in just one liner and say I'm double dipping on that same dollar. I'm earning interest in my policy forever and ever, and I'm making interest over here in the investment deal that I'm doing, right? Let me pull back up the gains projector for a second. Oops, gotta do a new share. StreamYard, just some feedback. You guys should let me share more than one screen at a time. Make it simple like Zoom. There we go. Hey, before we get into it, hold on. Some comments are coming in. Good morning, Mr. Connor. He says, what is once seen can't be unseen. Annette says the best revolving account or 401k one can have. That's right. Annette's basically saying, hey, your policy can also be used as tax-free income, tax-exempt income during retirement. And Lisa says it will be protected if it's in a trust. I would assume so, girl. Now, I'm not an expert. I'm not an attorney. Okay. Go consult with one. But yeah, you know, I mean, that's the whole reason that a lot of people have trust and different LLCs, right? Like when I buy my properties, I'm buying them within LLCs. It's because I want to own nothing but control everything. We've heard that saying before, right? My wealth builders. But is it protective if it's in a trust? I would assume yes, because if they come after you directly, it's not tied to you. It's tied to the trust name, so they can't come after the trust assets, right? But anywho's, it's I would talk to an attorney about that one. But Lisa, too, just with your states, you know, definitely we can talk about that collateral assignment as well. Nadia says, oh, wow, I didn't know the protection varied by state. Yes. So because, hey, here's the thing. The contracts, okay, whole life contracts are governed at the state level. So they're all state specific. We actually had a case not too long ago, which Rachel Katz, can you hear me? I can. We're sharing a room together over here in Boulder. Do you remember our one friend? Here, let me take this off the screen. Do you remember our one friend who he was going through underwriting? Here's Miss Rachel.
Good morning.
Do you remember our one friend? He was going through underwriting and he was living in one state, and then during underwriting, he moved to another state.
Yes.
And then he signed his policy contract in the other state.
And it derailed
Yep.
So
And so the insurance company came back and said, hey, why did he sign his contract in this state when the application was submitted in this state? Well, he moved during the application process. Within that 4 weeks of underwriting, he moved. So what the insurance company wanted us to do is we had to sign a new application based on that new state of which he lived in, because it's all state specific. I don't know. Any other comments?
no, but that's it. You just need to know your state.
Know your state. Know your state. Know your laws. North Carolina is better than Florida and New York. Okay. I think Florida has better weather. No, I'm just playing. North Carolina is a beautiful, beautiful state, though. No, that's good, though. I'm glad that y'all are looking this up, and you should. You guys should know your laws within your state. Okay, getting it back to my gains projector here. Okay, so this is actually one of the tools, like I mentioned on the forefront, that we build for our members. If they are, maybe not using their policy for debt payoff, maybe they're using their policy for this investment, or maybe they're just storing up capital because they want to use it for college education fund or their vacations that they take with their family members. But anywho's, so this is one of the charts that we'll build out, and this is how I got my apples to apples comparison. So if you guys really want to nerd out on these numbers and look at the charts and see what this is all about, this is just one of the tools. And I want to shout out to actually Chris Noggle and Craig Yenny, because this was all possible because they spent a lot of time on, you guys have heard about the vault, right? If you follow Chris Noggle on YouTube, this is what the vault is. It's the what do I call it? Not the system. I guess it is a system, but it's where we can plug it in to the system, for lack of better words, and it will literally give us that apples to apples comparison. So I didn't want to go too long today because I do have to get ready. I have to speak on stage here later this afternoon, and I need to get ready for that. But I just really wanted to break down the truth, right? Because math doesn't lie, right? And that's what this is all about. I mean, one of these days, I need to probably come on here and do that synopsis of the buy term and invest the difference and mathematically debunk that, okay? Because I know we talk about it all the time too. And maybe this will be an upcoming episode, but we call it the white papers. That's just an internal term that we call it. But we do have those white papers on breaking down the math behind buy term and invest the difference versus the infinite banking concept. Because hear me out, term life has a place, right? I like term life. I especially like convertible term policies. Matter of fact, I made my sister-in-law get a convertible term policy to max out herself. Sean and Allie, they have 6 policies themselves. They have a few on Allie and then a few on the kids, which, by the way, I'm going to go see my niece on Saturday. She is turning 17. My niece is turning 17. So I got to go see her. I'm going to be down in Cape Coral after this. That's my next stop before I make it back home. But I told Allie, I said, Allie, you should consider getting this convertible term policy, because honestly, you're kind of the only hope for the family, because my brother, your husband, he's uninsurable. The insurance companies will not touch him right now. And it's so important to protect your insurability because you don't know what's going to happen. Cancer arises, health conditions arise. You could be walking down the street, you could get hit by a car, and then now you have cognitive issues and the insurance company won't consider you. There's so many ifs within this one life that we have, and you don't know if maybe in the future you won't get considered for coverage. Actually, shout out Connor. I know you're watching right now. You came back hearing me talk about convertible term and you said, hey, that sounds like a good idea. I should probably do that. And I told Allie, I said, Allie, you're my sister-in-law, so I'm going to kind of force you to do this. Just kidding. But I said, max out your body, okay? Take this new whole life policy designed for IBC, take this new whole life policy, but then with that extra death benefit that you can get on your body right now, let's take a convertible term on you so that in the future, you can convert that term into whole life, still design it with paid up editions, still design it for the infinite banking concept. But then you won't have to go through any underwriting for it. You are already locked in, and you've already secured that insurability and secured that death benefit on yourself. And so that's what she did. Another short little story. My cousin, I have a cousin. She had a 10-year-old policy. Well, it would have been 9 years old now. It was issued in 2017 with a company called Security Mutual Life, one of the 6 insurance companies that we do business with, one of the mutually owned companies. She had a 9-year-old policy, and she was listening to the noise out there, okay? I always say, think for yourself and question, but she was listening to the noise out there, even from her own family members of, oh my goodness, that stuff is a scam. You shouldn't be doing that. Whole life is stupid. You should just buy term and invest the difference, invest the rest, which by the way, masses, are you guys really investing the rest? Genuine question. Okay. Go do a poll, go do a study on that and see how many people are actually investing the rest. But she surrendered that policy. She's coming back now saying, oh my goodness, it was so stupid for me to surrender that policy. I can't believe I did that. And you know what happened? Now she's diagnosed with pre-cancer. Now the insurance companies want a conclusion to this pre-cancer before they'll even consider her for another policy. That kind of sucks, doesn't it? You never know what's going to happen within life. And the time is going to pass anyways. Would you rather have a 9-year-old whole life policy today in 2026? Or would you rather be starting over from zero in 2026? Because the time is going to pass anyways, right? And there was another point I wanted to bring up. By kind of my ADD brain, I kind of forgot it. But anyways, protecting your insurability is just very, very important. Oh, I remember what I was going to bring up. I'm going to end on this comment. A lot of people like to compare the infinite banking concept to their investments, but you can't compare it to your investments. It's almost like comparing your 401k to your checking account. You can't do that. That's not an apples to apples comparison. The whole life policy and this whole concept in the process of you becoming your own banker, it is about recapturing the money that you're already spending. The money you're already spending on cars, or I should just say products, services, and it can include investments. But the policy is not your investment. The policy is just the warehouse of my money. It's the place of where I store my wealth. And then through the policy, I can go buy the products, the services, the investments. Because an investment, in my definition, is it involves some risk, okay? It can go up in value or it can go down and lose value. There is some potential risk there. In your whole life contract, you have a guaranteed contractual interest inside of there. No ifs, ands, or buts. And that's not my flab and gum saying that. That's written inside the policy contract. So I know people like to look at whole life contracts like they are an investment because they do grow in value. But it's not an investment because it can never go down. It can never lose value. Go check out your IUL illustration on the guaranteed side. Does that lose value? Question mark. Just a thought. But the whole life contract can never lose value. So it's not my investment. And this whole concept, and I'm getting it now, why Nelson says like on page 3 of his book, Becoming Your Own Banker. It's over there on the bed. I was going to bring it up for y'all. But this is why Nelson on page 3 of his book, he says, hey guys, it's going to take several thorough readings to fully understand the message of the infinite banking concept. But once you get it, you got it, right? And actually, there was a guy out there, I found it on YouTube, where he was kind of bashing Nelson, honestly, and saying, well, Nelson, you just weren't a great communicator, because if you were a great communicator, people wouldn't have to reread this book several times to fully understand its message. No, that's not correct, because you have to unlearn all of the stuff that you've been taught up to this point in your life. And that's the hardest thing. Go watch the backwards bicycle video, y'all. That's why I play it within my presentations, the backwards bicycle on YouTube, okay? 7.5 minute video. It comes from a channel called Smarter Every Day, backwards bicycle. But that's why it takes some time for people to fully grasp this, because it's a total 180 thinking from what you've been conventionally taught up to this point in your life. So this process, this concept, it is not about rates of return of any kind. This is not, because I get it, right? Being a real estate investor, I'm like, hey, why would I go put my money in a stupid guaranteed 4% interest with dividends at the minimum 4%? Why would I go do that when I could go lend my money, give it to this borrower, and they're paying me no less than 15%, right? But again, to go back, it's the and asset. It's not my either or. This is my and. So I understand that thinking and that mentality of where you're starting now, but you got to rethink your thinking, and you got to unlearn some of the stuff that you've been taught up to this point in your life. And that's why you have to keep rereading Nelson's message in his book of Becoming Your Own Banker. But it's just talking about recapturing the money that you're already spending. How can I spend the money, but then save it at the same time? Or AKA what's called the opportunity cost of your money. We don't have time to get so deep into that today, but the opportunity cost of your money. Go and nerd out on it. Go look it up if you want to go down that deep rabbit hole. One of these days, we'll get into it, or just click on some other videos on the channel. We talk about it there too. So wait, I said last thing, but here, let's talk about this, just like real world application to this. Being a real estate investor, I didn't address this question because my ADD brain took over. But when I'm taking loans out from my policy, right? When I take out a cash value loan, I'm not withdrawing the money from the policy, I'm taking out a loan. I'm using the insurance company's money in the real world. You're not using your money. You're using the insurance company's money in the real world to go and invest into that 14% deal. So that's how and why your money continues to stay in the policy to grow and compound as if it was never touched. But if I take out that cash value loan, the insurance company is now going to be charging me that 5% interest on my policy loan. And depending on the insurance company that you're working with, it could be anywhere from 5 to 7%. Now, contractually, loan interest rate can be anywhere from 0 to 8%. That's what it states in the contract itself. And remember, these insurance companies, they're their own private entities. They're not based on the Fed and what they're doing. They get to determine their own interest rates they want to set. But depending on the insurance company, it can be anywhere from 4.5 to 7%, just with the companies that I personally do business with. So Hannah, when I take out the money in that cash value loan for my policy and I go and invest it, I'm going to have to pay that loan interest. Yes, there's going to be loan interest on that policy. What I do when I'm using my policies for my investments is I will annually pay my loan interest out of pocket. Pay that loan interest out of pocket, and then keep using your loan money in that investment deal. Because my simple mind thinks, well, hey, who cares if I'm paying you 5% insurance company when I'm over here making 14%, right? I'm just working the spread and the arbitrage on the dollars all day long. But this is kind of where it gets into a deeper conversation of, you should be up to speed on your cash flow that's coming in. I look at my cash flow every single month, and I update my net worth sheet every single month. There's some tools and some resources I can give y'all, okay, if you want, or go watch my one podcast episode where it's titled How to Expand Your Policy Portfolio Without Overextending Yourself. But I get into my net worth sheet there, and that's how I know what my cash flow is every single month. And also Rocket Money. I do love me some Rocket Money. Okay. Shout out Rocket Money. For my people who have children or maybe Gen Z millennials, Great app, Rocket Money. Track your spending, track your expenses. But what I do is when I see that there's money being left over at the end of the month, I don't just keep the money inside of my checking account. If I see that there's more than 3 months of my overhead expenses inside of my checking account, I will move that money back towards my policies and pay back my policy loans. So that's even calculations and like accounting that we're not even taking into consideration here. Because obviously, if I go pay back my policy loans, I'm paying down the principal that I have outstanding. Thus, I'm paying down the loan interest that I have to pay on that loan. And the rule that I use for myself is if I'm not going to use that money within 60 days, 60 to 90 days, that's when I'll take the money and I'll just go pay it back to the policy. Because y'all don't be playing mental gymnastics with these insurance companies, right? I mean, the insurance companies are not commercial banks in the sense that they're doing 1 million transactions a day. Okay, so they're going to get a little irritated if you go in there like every single day and like start requesting your policy loans out. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say, hey, monthly people, take out your loans on a quarterly basis. Or, hey, if I'm not going to use this money within 60 days, then I'll go and pay back the policy loans. And then once I'm ready, then I'll go and take it back out again. So before I let you go, Dave is saying, I just started using the vault. Pretty neat, comparing the numbers and techniques. Good. That's good feedback. Thanks, Dave. You never know what you need until you need it. Sucks. Dude, I'm telling you. Dexter, I got to fill you in sometime soon in my community about like the nanny and papa drama, my grandparents. Literally this one statement. You never know what you need until you need it. It sucks. I know. And Dexter says, tell Rachel hello. You guys go have fun today.
Tell him I'll see him on Sunday in San Diego.
You're going to see Dexter on Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, seeing Brianna. He probably knows.
Good. All right, my friends, I think that's all my thoughts right now. We can keep continuing to go deeper and deeper into this stuff, okay? So if you have questions for me, reach out to me through email, hannah@themoneymultiplier.com. Hey, if you are around the Boulder, Colorado area, you want to come and hang out, come and see the event that we're doing today. It's called the I Am Health and Wealth Expo. Because if you think about it, you guys have heard me say this before, especially if you tune into the pod. The number one cause of death in America is heart disease. The number one cause of heart disease is stress. And the number one cause of stress is money problems. It's all about the money problems. So if you really think about it, yeah, I'm a money mentor, but I'm also your health coach. Hee hee. All right, my friends, I will see you in a little bit. Next week, Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Hey, actually, by the way, I might have to have Rachel fill in next week, okay? Just a big PSA and also shout out to my best girlfriend, Sadie. She is getting married on May 1st. And so I have to be up in St. Augustine on the 30th of this month by 9 a.m. So I don't know if I'm going to be around next week. So I might have Rachel run the show next week, but then I'll see you the following week. But as always, keep tuning into the Tuesday podcast that launches, the Money Multiplier podcast. Find it on all podcast platforms or YouTube, the Money Multiplier. But until next week, do well, be great. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Okay? I'll see you then. Mwah. Bye, y'all.